say that.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
Yeah, where'd Dom go? Oh, I'm sorry, Purple Dom. Hey, everybody. I forgot Dom. It's good to see everybody. We are back. This is the Thursday thick of it. And we're going to have a good time tonight. I'm GreenBean. That right there on my side today is Gunny. And below us, down there in the purple Minnesota Vikings themed room, is the great Dom C. I hope everybody's excited for another Jets offseason, the time where we can hypothesize that we will be great. And nobody can say anything with, you can believe what you want to believe. Now, there's no games to ruin your day. With that all said, let's say hello to everybody. Gunny, I know you've been traveling. You all settled in. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, man. Just a couple of days out in Midland, Texas. Back here in Houston, back home. Just landed literally from the company jet an hour ago. But luckily for me, they freaking our hangar is close to my house, Vice being all the way past downtown at the Hobby Airport. So that was awesome. That was exciting. But yeah, a couple of days out in the field, checking out some things, and now I'm back home. And first thing I did was jump on here to go ahead and be with you guys, and let's talk.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm glad you're safe, but I'll tell you, Dom, a key word stuck out to me there. Does this make sense to do? Let me see. Let me leave the other background. He said company jet. Did you hear that, Dom?
I did.
Did that stick out to you? What's that all about, Gunny? Company jet.
Gunny.
Yeah. So I work in oil and gas. And I'm a senior talent acquisition advisor for my company. And yeah, so we've got a couple of company jets actually. So we got on the shuttle to go out there and pretty much, we had to go see some of the new acquisitions that we just had. Recently, we actually acquired another company, had to go ahead and have a sit down with them and kind of talk about some of the processes of how we do things at the Oxy level when it comes to interviews and of course the interviews and recruiting process. And we also got a chance to go out there and see some of our oil fields, see some of our pump jacks and whatnot in operation, and get a little tour of that as well. So just some good old fashioned education aspect, and of course a meet and greet with some new guys that we've just added on to the family.
Well, that's pretty exciting. Gunny gets to use the company jet. I don't know if you know this, but he's a pilot. He just gets in and flies. What he does. That's what he told me.
It's funny you say that. I'm going to send you a picture real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. That's good.
I got a company Honda Accord outside.
Hey,
kind of similar, right?
I'll tell you what, ain't nothing wrong with that. I got a company nothing. So there you go. I'd love a little stipend, a little car, a little something from the company. I get none of that shit. But Dom, how are you doing tonight, man? Everything good? What's going on this draft season for Dom C?
Oh, a lot. It's go time, it's grind time. But I did find myself for some reason with all the Aaron Rodgers news. As I was sitting down here quiet about 7:30, I put on the replay of the Aaron Rodgers Buffalo home opener, which I was at the day that he went down 4 plays in and probably ruined his Jets career.
Yeah.
So I rewatched that game just for shits and giggles. And man, I got to tell you, for all the ups and downs and disappointment that was the short tenure of the Aaron Rodgers era, that game was the loudest and most electric live Jets game I've ever been to, without a doubt.
It's the saddest thing in the world. The environment, right?
Yeah.
The expectation, the hope. Monday Night Football, it was just the American flag, right? All the green lights on everybody's wrists going off. It was great. We finally thought we'd arrived. And 4 plays. And then, like you said, I believe that too. I think it just ruined the whole damn thing. Yeah, it made us endure Zach Wilson again. And, it just soured everything. And then,
And that catch, that Garrett touchdown catch from Zach in the corner.
Oh, my God. It was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Loved it.
Now, let me show you real quick. Gunny, you mind me showing everybody this picture?
Nah, go ahead.
Wait, where the hell did it go? Wait, how come it's not? Hold on. Come on.
Oh shit!
I can't do it that way. All right, hold on. Let me do this then. Let me see.
It's a funny story. So
Go ahead.
The reason I was able to do that, take that picture, is on the way back. The pilot actually. So we've got a rotation of pilots that are on call for different days of flying the aircrafts. And he saw my hoodie. I had on a Marine Corps hoodie, and he goes, oh, Semper Fi, right? Because it was a Marine Corps hoodie, and I'm like, rah, you know what I'm saying? In response to him, and all of a sudden he was like, so what was your MOS? And I'm like, oh, okay, you were a Marine. So we started talking Marine Corps, and come to find out, he's the pilot. I'm like, are you the pilot for the flight? He was like, yeah. I was like, wait, how did you go as an enlisted Marine? He was an Amtracker and wind up being a pilot for to fly a corporate jet around. He goes like, well, I went to college after the Marine Corps, used the Marine Corps, the veterans benefits, got my pilot's license, been flying for about 15 years. And I'm like, that explains it. That's the math. So I was telling him how I hate flying and whatnot, man. I've never been a fan. I used to work on aircraft in the Marine Corps, and the fact that a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds can work on safety equipment and avionics in the Marine Corps never sit well with me. So I hate flying. But
Yeah.
Go sit up in the cockpit. It feels completely different when you're in the cockpit. You might enjoy it. So I got to go up in the cockpit and took a couple of pictures, and my coworkers were like, "How in the hell did you get?" I was like, "He's a Marine." So he into the cockpit to go ahead and check it out. So
what's MOS? Yeah, you're talking a language that I have no idea about.
MOS is the military occupational specialty. So it's pretty much your job code. So you can get a job in aviation, but like myself, I was a 6000 series, specifically a 6048, which is an aviation life support systems engineer. Whereas there's the 6072s who are avionics individuals. A 6084, if I'm not mistaken, is a airframes mechanic, which was what my wife was. She was an airframes mechanic. So like it's just the code that's aligned with your specific MOS or your job. Yeah. And the 6000 series is the field, so that's the aviation field, and the numbers in between are the individual jobs you can get inside that field.
Yeah, nice. I think GreenBean was a 5-10-25, otherwise known as nickel diamond quarter.
Yeah.
That's different. That's different.
So Swamp Ranger checking in to say hello to his boy Gunny. Look, you look good up there, man. Did you get to stay up there during the flight at all?
No. They definitely sent me back to the to the main cabin. Honestly, we were supposed to be in a 1-hour flight, and we got here from Midland to Houston in 35 minutes.
Ooh.
So this is what happens when you get a Marine up there. My man was punching it, and we got here relatively quickly.
You're like, hey, I got a stream to do. He's like, don't worry, I got you.
Yeah, I got you covered. I got to get back in time.
Well, Gunny looking good up there in the cockpit, man. Gunny, you look good anywhere though. I appreciate you. Good looking fella. Baby. Good looking.
I try, man. I try. Thank my mom for that.
Yeah, man. So guys, we got a poll in the chat, and I want to look. It's just one of the things that look, as we know, and we'll talk about this a little bit tonight. Aaron Rodgers' era is over. You know, we thought it was really undone. We didn't know it, but with any finite knowledge or anything. But 4 plays into his career as a Jet, it was pretty much a wrap. We did get to see him play. We had some great moments, but fewer and farther between than we had hoped. Managed to get 3,900 yards and all that shit, but not enough. 5 wins total, and they've decided to move on because new regime and all that sort of stuff. And look, even though my heart, I would have loved to see him come back and all that, but I think it's probably best for the new organization. It makes sense. But the other piece of that is Davante Adams. Now, we got lots of clues and indications that look, Aaron Rodgers isn't here. I don't want to be here. But that's not the whole story. So I'm talking about in the poll what you want. I left an option in there for Dom. It doesn't matter anyway, because that's the grumbler. Dom's a grumbler. He's like a logical guy, right? So he's like, hey, do you want Davante? Doesn't matter. I'm like, well, I want to think about it. I want to talk about it. No, it can't happen because he doesn't want to be here. So I left that in there for you Dom C types, intellectual, logical fellas that you might be. But anyway, let us know what you think in the poll. Don't forget to hit the milk thumbs, everybody. That's very, very important. Squeeze the like button for us and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. But Gunny, what is your overall thought of the Aaron Rodgers thing? Were you sad? Were you happy? Where did you land on the news that Aaron Rodgers, it's officially, it's a wrap?
Honestly, I think I was one of those guys, the Jets fans, that thought to myself, okay, if he comes back, maybe with new coaching staff, you know what I'm saying, new vision, we see a better product on the field coming into next season. But if he doesn't come back, I realistically have to look at what we were able to accomplish this past season. Aaron Rodgers going into year 41. And I think if the goal is, which I think the majority of us believe the goal should be Super Bowl every single year, Aaron Rodgers was not going to give us the best chance to make it to a Super Bowl at age 41. Then we would push the ability to potentially get closer to that goal by another year by going into next season with a bunch of cap space tied into and potentially retiring Aaron Rodgers. So I was literally in that neutral space in terms of it. I was going to go ahead and get in step with Aaron Glenn, whatever decision that they made. The way they came about making this decision from all the reports stating that, they sat him down and they kind of made it known that, listen, this is not the Aaron Rodgers show. This is going to be the freaking New York Jets show. This is what we're going to need from you. Like, we talked about this last week where I felt like you had to shoot a hostage, and during the season, it might have been an Aaron Rodgers, right? I feel like they just did that now. I think ultimately when you sit down with Aaron Rodgers and you make him aware from jump that, listen, you're going to have to learn a new offense. You're not missing any training camp. You can't do the Pat McAfee show because it's bringing too much attention that we're not looking to get. We're trying to go ahead and put our heads down and go to work. And when Aaron Rodgers says whatever Aaron Rodgers said, which I do think he probably would have stated, like, you're not going to tell me what to do on my own personal time, which you got to kind of understand. The guy's been in the league for 21 freaking years. And if he chose that, he earned that. But the identity of the New York Jets is no longer Aaron Rodgers. We're trying to create culture, trying to create identity. So I respect the fact that Aaron Glenn had the guts, if I'm being honest, to go ahead and pull the trigger and let Aaron Rodgers go. That was a tough call. That was not easy. I think what it tells us is we have adults in the building. We have adults in the building making adult decisions. And the fact that the New York Jets fan base is so split on this means it's probably the right decision. I was there for the Aaron Rodgers experiment. I was high. I think we were all high on it. We were really hopeful. Like you said beautifully, that first, 3 snaps ending season 1 was catastrophic. I think we all kind of were wondering, I mean, he's 40 years old, torn Achilles. How good can he be? And I know the numbers will tell you he played, statistically good football in terms of the numbers. But if you watch the games, you know that what the production was on offense was not at all good. And it's not good enough to beat out the likes of a Josh Allen. It's not good enough to really compete in the AFC. So for me, it's one of those situations where you'd rather let go of somebody 1 year early, vice 1 year too late. We've always talked about how that's how smart organizations do it. If he goes out and he does well for the Vikings or the Steelers or wherever he goes, and I'm not looking at this as being regretful because we let him go 1 year too early so we can actually start creating the long-lasting change we're hoping to get, at One Jets Drive. So for me, I'm 100% on board with it. I love Aaron Rodgers, him as a player. He's been a joy to watch. I think he's one of the greatest of all time. And I know that hurts people's feelings because you don't get to rock his jersey next year if you don't want to. He was still a Jet. You can still claim that. You can still rock the jersey. But for me, I think if you're talking about longevity and starting to build the culture the way that Aaron Glenn envisions it to be, and you bought into Aaron Glenn, I'm in lockstep. It makes sense. You shot that hostage, and it was a major hostage. I think he kind of set the tone on notice to the rest of the Jets organization that we're about the New York Jets first and players second. So get in lockstep with me, or you might be on the chopping block.
Yeah. I tell you, man, that makes a lot of sense. That's the whole thing. It's like, it just makes sense. But let me give you the conspiracy theory that I've concocted all by myself. Okay. So it's hard to have a conspiracy when you're alone, but because conspiracy insinuates there are others that believe this and working on it with you. But this is my conspiracy theory. I want to hear what you guys think about this. When Hackett got his head coaching gig, it was where? With the Denver Broncos, right? Now, Muji was a part of that brain trust. I don't know how much say he had or input or whatever, but he was a part of the collective that hired Paul Hackett's son to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos. And he sucked so bad that they had to fire him before the end of his first season as head coach. They go and get Peyton. He comes in and says, this is I am cleaning up the worst head coaching job in NFL history. Aaron Rodgers responds to that, doesn't like it at all, and says, keep my coach's name out of your mouth. So the little bit of a pissing match back and forth. We go to Denver that year. We beat them. And there was some gloating by Hackett, and I think they might have even fucking Gatorated him or whatever they did. And then who do we get as our GM? We get a guy that's part of the trust, a part of that whole thing, the back and forth. And they come here and they have an opportunity to throw a little spitball back in the face of Aaron Rodgers. And he says, hey, like we like to think it's Aaron Glenn talking to him and everything. And but he's the general manager. He said, look, I got some rules for you. You're not doing your stupid TV show. You're going to fucking make it to everything. You're going to do everything that we want to say. I don't want you tweeting. I don't want you doing nothing. And made it the landscape in such a way that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to come back to stick it up his ass. And they kicked him out of here. That's what he did. Muji, to get Aaron Rodgers back for all the bullshit, kicked him out. And his buddy Hackett got to fire him again. Everybody goes, why'd you keep Hackett on for so long? So I could fire him. That's why. Muji said, hey, don't let him go yet. I want to be the guy to come in. I want to fire him this time. What do you guys think? Dom, what do you think about my conspiracy theory?
Well, I mean, listen, the people in your head probably agree with you 100%, man. I love it.
What about you?
I don't know about that. Kind of, sort of, very Diana Rossini-esque.
I'm in good company. Everybody loves her.
So, I don't know if you guys, maybe you saw, maybe you didn't, but Schefter completely refuted everything that Rossini put out in her little tell-all the other day, that none of that stuff was true, and that there was actually multiple meetings that have occurred over the past couple weeks between Muji, Glenn, I'm sure Jaime, and all the other Jets brass, and Aaron Rodgers. And, I don't know if any demands were put on him, but they all agreed that it was probably best that it wasn't. The end game was it wasn't going to work for anyone. It wasn't going to work for Aaron. It wasn't going to work for the Jets. It wasn't going to work for AG and Muji. So they, you get the parting of ways. And listen, I'll say this. This is the tough pill to swallow for Jets fans. I'm sure is that you'd probably be hard pressed to find another quarterback who's going to come in and offer you a better chance to win in 2025 than Aaron Rodgers. However, when you look at the burden, especially the fiscal burden that comes with having him play another year, this was the absolute right decision. And it's hard to say, coming off of 14 years that we haven't had a winning, a playoff berth, and 7 wins and 5 wins and 3 wins and 1 win and all this crap. So I get it, but like the reality is that if you have him come back this year, it in essence, it was an $80 million decision, right? Because you have him come back next year, or if he plays this year, you're now carrying dead cap money in.
What was his pay this year, Don? Like, what was his cap hit this year?
His cap hit this year for 2025 was scheduled to be $23,500,000.
And then his dead cap would be what if we kept him for next and at the end of next year?
$63 million.
Right. So there you go. Cap number. So that's $92 million. Do I have that right? Am I drunk?
No, 85.
85. I didn't even have the 2 right, Gunny. Yeah. I thought I had one part of that right. Shit.
So you're close.
Yeah. So, the decision, albeit it's, for the Jets fans, like all of us, who want nothing but, to kind of get the stink off of the past 14 years off of our shoulders, that burden that we've been carrying around. The right decision was, let's move on. We cannot financially survive A, B, or C with him on the roster. I think it was the right decision. Not to mention all the other stuff that Gunny so eloquently said, like different ideas, different mindset, different cultures,
new offense,
different leaders, right? Like people don't want to, forget about the financial aspect of it because no one thinks about that. But the thing that never you ever try to put two ends of a magnet, the same ends together, and it's like, it's like this and it's like this. Like, why after 21 or 20 seasons in the league where Aaron Rodgers has been adamant that he's going to do it his way, so much that, Mike LaFleur and him, argued to the point where he left Green Bay. So much to the fact that he came over here and wanted to bring his guys in to do it his way. Why in year 21 would anyone expect Aaron Rodgers to say, "Oh yeah, Tanner Engstrom, you're half my age." Yeah,
and you've never done this before. You're going to be my boss.
Whatever you want to do, I'll conform. That's just not. That was never going to happen. You know what I mean? That was just never going to happen. So
yeah, and like Bearded saying here, Gunny, the Aaron Rodgers era forever will be known as the Aaron Rodgers error. It's really unfortunate. Isn't that something? I mean, it's like it blew up in our face, got everybody fired. I mean, you think about it, dude. This is 2 years coming out of 2022. We had a great defense. We had Garrett Wilson. Joe Douglas had that great draft. We had the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. We got Klecko and Revis in the hall. Yeah. And they make this big move. And a year and a half later, they're all gone. Isn't that something, Gunny? What do you think of that?
It is crazy when you put it like that, right? Just how quickly it made a 180 in terms of the direction we were heading. But I don't know if I would even call it the AR error. I don't even know if I would do that because for the first time in a long time, Jets fans were unified in the belief that there was actual hope, right? Aaron Rodgers did one thing. He unified us as a fan base. We all believed and felt like, man, this guy could legitimately make us relevant. We could end this freaking playoff drought. Even Aaron Rodgers at 50%, like as he would put it, like his worst years are career years. We just saw Josh Allen win the MVP with very similar passing stats. Of course, we know there's more to it in terms of the rushing and all that good stuff. Much more to it.
Hello.
But, you look at that and you think to yourself, like, it was a time to be alive as a Jets fan right now because you had one of the greatest of all time. Not only wear our uniform, but he wanted to wear the uniform. I'm not going to discredit that. Aaron Rodgers wanted to be a New York Jet. Like he 100% chose us when most guys wouldn't. Let's be honest. I think that has some value to it. It didn't work out the way we were expecting it to. No one saw the Achilles injury happening 3 snaps.
That was it.
No one saw our defense falling off of a cliff and our special teams forgetting how to go ahead and operate last season. Nevertheless, I think the fact that he did bring so much hope and unification from our fan base goes a long way. So I wouldn't call it the AR error, but it definitely did not hit the way we were hoping it was going to hit.
The AR failure?
That I would agree with. The AR failure.
Yes. No, I'm going to change that. I'm not going to agree with that. You know what I'm going to say? Because I'm going to be a jerk off here. The JD failure.
You know what? Yes.
Break it down, though, Dom. Come on, expand.
Well, listen, I mean, the reason we got into all this mess to begin with was that the roster as constructed pre-Aaron Rodgers, had a lot of hope, right? Especially after the 2022 draft, when Joe Douglas hit it out of the park with the first 4 picks. The reason we got into this solely was because of the transgressions of the sainted Joe Douglas himself, right? Bad decision after bad decision. Not take away the 2020 draft. You want to put a red flag next to that because of the COVID year, this and that. But how many guys made it out of that 2020 draft, right?
Not for us, anyway.
Not for us, exactly.
2 of them just won a fucking Super Bowl, but that's beside the point.
And whether or not he's at fault for this, that it happens all the time. It happens all the time. But we came into this whole, short-lived marriage with AR because Joe Douglas and his brain trust missed on Zach Wilson, missed on the opportunity, made the wrong decision on whether they made the wrong decision on prospect or they made the wrong decision on the avenue to go to build the team, right? Hindsight is an MFer. You could look back and say, yeah, probably should have kept Sam and traded back and gotten all those draft picks and what could have been, but that's not the avenue they went. They got Zach in here with a rookie head coach and a rookie offensive coordinator and the pass into Greg Knapp and all that stuff around, and it failed miserably. And then he realized that he's got a good defense, made some good draft picks, developed some guys on the defense side, had some veterans that were really playing at a high level in Quincy and CJ and the guys. And they said, let's take advantage of this. And for 2 years, financially, he built this team. He pushed his chips in the middle, and everything was built around, we are a quarterback away.
Yeah.
And guess what? That was the Jets 23 and 24 season were built on a house of cards that crumbled quickly. And guess what? We're going to be paying for that now until 2026. There is, let alone the money that we're eating this year for Aaron Rodgers, which is $14 million. But once the voided contracts, the new year goes into effect in March and the voided contracts expire, add on another $22 million to that for this year. Then you have the dead money for next year, which CJ Mosley, which kept getting restructured.
Yep.
And all the other guys that got restructured and void years, dead money, to really focus on maximizing this small window here that was built on a house of cards. And, here we are.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I got to say, though, you look back in hindsight and it's very easy to throw stones and all that kind of shit. I do respect the swing. I respect the attempt. Again, no, like Gunny said it, nobody saw an Achilles injury coming. The guy plays through everything. It was the one injury he couldn't play through. Yeah. I mean, you could have cracked his skull open and he would have taped it up and came back. By the next quarter, he would have been back on the field. You know what I mean? He's played with broken thumbs. He's known for making it through entire seasons. Like it was a smart money. It was a smart money bet. 1 year removed from 2 MVP seasons. And you know what I mean? It's like the smart money was on it. I do respect the swing, but here we are. So one more thing on my conspiracy theory, which I still maintain is the truth. Our Biv checking in says, was Muji part of the bringing Zach to the Broncos? I'm sure he was part of it. Again, he was not the decision maker. So, but this, you got to remember, like with staffs, like, in the draft room and everything, and, all the prep into that, the scouts, they're all involved. They all have their say. And then when the decisions are made, there's a smaller collective, usually assistant GM, and then, those guys. I'm sure Muji had some say, but that was kind of a low-end move. He wasn't going there to be the starter or anything like that. It was just a depth move, which I think, by the way, they played it the smartest way. It's what we should have done in 2023, which was Zach should have been QB3, not QB2. And we should have had a better contingency, like a Tyrod Taylor, when Aaron went down. What they did was they stashed him at QB3 on a team with an actual offensive mind in the NFL. So it's the best possible scenario for Zach. It's what Sam needed. Sam went and sat on the bench for the most of the season under Shanahan, and look how it worked out for him. And by the way, it's what I was saying Sam needed when we got rid of him. I said, Sam, it's time he needs to have a year where he just sits. Carolina threw him in. He looked good for 5 minutes, and then it was a 2-year train wreck for them. And anyway, so Gunny, what do you think of Dom's points there? I want to talk about the coaching staff in a little bit, but just to kind of cap this, and then we'll look at the poll. What do you think about Dom's thoughts? Or you can get into you know what? Let's shift to Davante Adams a little bit. What is your thoughts on Davante? I mean, like, if it was up to you, would you keep him? Are you ready to move on? What's the whole story from Gunny's side of things?
Yeah, so for me, I've been very adamant on the fact that I don't believe this is a complete rebuild. I know some individuals think the loss of an Aaron Rodgers means his team is in full rebuild mode. I think it's more of a retooling. I think that's the phrase I want to go with this process. And there is a window where you can bring in or keep a guy like Davante Adams on this roster, right? Right now, we're looking at some of the free agent possibilities. And I don't know if you keep a guy like, Davante Adams in the building, if you're bringing in Justin Fields. But if it's Derek Carr, which he loves Derek Carr, he left to go play with him with the Raiders. I could see a situation where he decides, you know what, I will stick around for that. And Derek Carr does fit what I would assume the offensive game plan is going to be for the New York Jets. I know we're still waiting to see what that looks like, but in terms of the use of motion, being under center, that this is the kind of game plan that's going to be brought forward based off the experience of the offensive coordinator. So I think that would be a way you guarantee yourself keeping a guy like a Davante Adams if you're bringing in his buddy Derek Carr. Honestly, I think that if that's the case, you bring him in. We don't have a lot of talent in the wide receiver room. A lot of people are just so quick to be like, you know what, whatever, just dump him, move on to the next. After Garrett Wilson, man, Malachi Corley is a maybe, and then after that, it's just a bunch of guys who just can't play at the NFL level, and I think we've seen that over the last couple of years. Our wide receiver room is not as strong as we thought it was coming into this season. Alan Lazard's not going to be here next year. I think he's gone. So if you have a chance of keeping Davante Adams, I still think we should definitely look at wide receiver in this draft. If a guy like Ted is available to us at number 7, so you can have a guy for the future to be the 1 or the 2 to Garrett Wilson. But Davante Adams can help us win some games next year. And again, if Derek Carr is the guy, I see a scenario in which he's still here. I think the quarterback position is going to make a big decision on whether or not he's here or if he's winds up traded or released.
Now, do you think we could trade him? You think what can we get for Davante Adams? And do you think there's a viable opportunity to do that, Gunny?
Well, I think it would, of course, depend on where he wants to go, where he'd be willing to go, because obviously a renegotiation of his contract is going to be necessary. So he's going to have a lot to say. Granted, he doesn't have a no trade clause, but look at that contract. He has a no trade clause. So it's going to be dependent on the teams he's willing to go to. And for us to be able to navigate to those teams and say, hey, we got Davante Adams. The dude still got a lot of tread left on the tires. He can help your team win, and being able to go ahead and kind of have those teams battle out. I think realistically speaking, if you tell a team they can go ahead and get Davante Adams in the building and he's going to renegotiate his contract, a third, maybe a fourth is feasible for a guy like Davante Adams. You're not getting a second. You're not getting a first, not at this stage of his career, but somebody who can right now use his skill set to potentially win with the promise that he'd be willing to renegotiate that contract. You give up a third or a fourth, it avoids the fact that he'd become a free agency, and you wind up going into a bidding war with another team for his services. So I think realistically a fourth is possible, but I think a third may be feasible if you've got a couple of individuals batting it out for his services, of course, of teams he's willing to go to.
Yeah, I like the idea of trading Davante Adams. So, Dom, you think we could trade him?
I think it'll be listen, the only way that it could work, I was having a conversation today with and with Antoine Staley. We were chatting and we were talking. This happened to come up, and I said the only way that it could work for some odd reason, if Davante would be open to it. His best case scenario is that he's cut, because then he's free to do whatever he wants and go wherever he wants for whatever little or amount of money he wants to go to. If Davante, for one reason or another, wants to kind of, throw a favor or wave the olive branch to the Jets, the Jets could tell him, hey, go negotiate, find the teams that you want to go to, tell them that you'll, make a handshake agreement that you'll renegotiate the contract on, I don't care if you talk about the terms, that once the trade's done, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll negotiate with them solely. I don't know why Davante would want to do that for us. Maybe he's, out of the goodness of his own heart, he'd be willing to do that. But I will push back a little on Gunny. I don't even remotely think we'd come close to a third or a fourth in a situation like that, especially if we're letting him go out and find the team that he wants to go to. maybe you get a 6, maybe probably one of those.
Oh, I disagree. I
Probably.
really do. I'm
No.
closer to Gunny. Yeah, I mean, think about
it'd be
it,
one
right?
of those trades, one of those pick swaps. We'll get a 6th and we'll give up a 7th and Davante Adams or something along those lines. Financially, it does. For us, it's the same exact thing. If we cut him tomorrow or if we trade him tomorrow, the same exact thing happens. We eat $8.2 million in dead cap, but we get $31 million in money available.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. Dude, it's Davante Adams. He looked badass at the end of the year. He was taking over games. He had another 1,000-yard season, and the first half was garbage over there for the Raiders. I think he's still Davante Adams, dude. And I think you could definitely get a 4th-round pick for him. Again, like Gunny and you alluded to, no matter what happens, he's going to have to renegotiate his contract. Now there's a part of it. He could say, screw you then. I'm just going to stay here and you pay me $20 million, whatever it is. You could do that. But anyway, I think it could all happen. You got to get something for him, in my opinion. I'm tired of these Jets just, letting players walk. Over the years, we just let guys go. We get nothing for them. So anyway, I want to see that. Guys, I want to hey, Swamp Ranger, I see you there, bro. And I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I want to take a little second here and remind you of the sponsor of the video, everyone. The great BetUS is back with us, offering you a 150% bonus. Why doesn't this thing work? StreamYard's getting real weird. Hold on. Let me try one more time here. Share the thing. It says it's there.
I see it.
Oh, it's so little. Hold on.
Yeah.
That's why. Here we go. Aha! I've done it. Technical old man at your service. So BetUS, everybody, the offer of the year, 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. All you have to do is use the promo code YouTube150. That's it. 150% bonus you receive, but that's not all. It also gives you a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. They are America's favorite sports book, guys. And yes, the NFL season is over, but that's just scratching the surface. You got a Major League Baseball coming up. You got dart season coming up. The bowling leagues are open, everybody. Swimming, politics, whatever your gig is, you can find it on BetUS. And again, they're America's favorite sports book for a reason. YouTube 150 is the deal, everyone. That's the code. Thank you to BetUS for hanging out with us. So, guys, I want to talk a little bit about our coaching staff, okay? Now, there's some real nice names, right? Now, I like Aaron Glenn, right? Whatever. We dissected the head coach thing, to the smallest possible degree. We got Aaron Glenn. He hires Steve Wilks, well-known defensive coordinator. Like him or hate him, he's an established guy. He's had some success in the league. Strong candidate for our defensive coordinator. Tanner Engstrand, exciting young offensive mind, right under Ben Johnson, who was kind of the creme de la creme of offensive head coach candidates this offseason. So we get that guy. But after that, it's a little bit weird, guys. And I'm going to tell you, while I like Aaron Curry at linebacker coach coming from the Steelers, right? I like that coach. I like Washington, the defensive line coach. And again, I like the offensive coordinator. I like the special teams coordinator. Here's my concern. And I'm going to bring up a graphic and show you guys the head coaching staff here so you can talk, so you can take a look. I know it's tough to remember everybody. But I am concerned about the offensive side of the ball once again. And here's where I am. So we get rid of Aaron Rodgers. We've dissected it. We know how we feel. It's probably the best move for the organization. But that leads you to a scenario where one of the viable options is going to be young quarterback, right? Whether it's in the second round this year, whether you trade up and you get up to the first overall pick and you get Cam Ward, or you like Sanders or whatever it is, or you wait till next year and do it in what seems to be a stronger quarterback class. Don't you think that that quarterback coach should be the priority? And we see this time and time again. Last regime had Rob Calabrese as the quarterback coach. He'd never done it before. Never. He's our quarterback coach. Before that, we have Adam Gase. He has no quarterback coach. So we have and we watched Sam Darnold, 3rd overall pick, Zach Wilson, 2nd overall pick. We watched these guys fail, not have any, development. What is, Gunny, I'll go to you first. Number one, what do you think of the overall staff? But are you concerned that the Jets once again seem to have a low priority on the most important position on the whole team, in the whole sport of football? Or do you like this guy? What's your take on this thing?
I look at the coaching staff and I'll say this, there's some pieces you definitely can love because you know what they bring to the table and you see a high ceiling. And then there's other ones you just got to go off of hope and potential. In terms of the quarterback coaching aspect, I was a little, I guess, perturbed is the only word I can think of in regards to that hire. To me, it doesn't make any sense. I'm assuming maybe they're relying solely on the fact that the GM, was a college QB and maybe he has an eye for what that talent would look like. I don't know how to feel about it. And I'm only saying that because I feel as if sometimes it's the guys you don't know anything about that exceed expectations. And maybe there's some reasoning behind the why they felt this was going to be the best route for you to have access to be the guy in the ear of the most important position on the team. Maybe they know something that we don't know. But I will say when I saw this hire, I sat back and I looked and I Googled trying to see, okay, maybe, he's done it before, or maybe he was a quarterback at some point. And there's nothing. There was nothing that shows me that this guy should have anything to do.
Well, he has done it before. He's been a he started. I'm sorry to interrupt, Gunny, but and listen, I'm not gonna sit here and defend Charles London. I'll be the first one to admit I know dick about him other than what I read, right? And he was a running back. Started his coaching career as a running backs coach, but very similar to what a lot of people do in the league in coaching. One like he switched positions. He was a quarterback coach for Atlanta. He was a quarterback coach in Tennessee. He was a quarterback coach last year for the Seahawks. So to say that he hasn't done it, I don't think that's necessarily true.
Yeah, he had 3 stints at quarterback coach. Take a look at the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I know who they are. I mean, obviously Atlanta, he had Desmond Ridder. Tennessee was whoever was there before Will Levis, before they handed the reins over to Will Levis, and Geno Smith last year. So,
well, Dom, what's your overall feel?
I don't have a feel. And I'm not trying to deflect. I'm being honest. I can't really speak to somebody that I don't know about. And the reality is that most of these guys on the staff, outside of obviously the Wilkes and stuff that you have some experience with, you like the, although I don't know his coaching style or whatnot, like I like the idea that Aaron Curry, the defensive side of the ball, all, he involved a bunch of guys that have played and so on and so forth. And, I think that makes a lot of sense. But the offensive, the tight ends coach was an offensive line coach, and the offensive line coach was a tight ends coach, in previous regimes.
Right. So once again, though, but do you see that? So it's like, look, and you said it, I'm actually a little excited about the defensive side of the ball. But once again, it seems to be our priority. That's not concerning to you?
No, it's concerning to an extent, which is why I was very adamant that I was very much on the side of the head coach be from the offensive side of the ball. So hopefully you can bring some, something different and some stability and continuity on the offensive side of the ball. So, I don't know, man. You got Turner coming in here. He's got some experience. Maybe that'll help, but I can't really speak to Charles London. I can't really speak to the tight ends coach, whoever he is, or the offensive line coach.
Would you be more excited? Let me ask you this.
I'd be more excited. I'd be more excited if our offensive line coach was They brought back John Benton or somebody that, that I have some familiarity with. I'd be more excited if the quarterback coach was, I don't know, Dan Orlovsky. I'm making it up, but somebody who might be new to coaching, but at least has, there's some intrigue and excitement for there. It's Scott Turner, our offensive assistant or whatever his role is going to be. If he was a quarterback's coach, yes, he's done it for a while. So I think I'd be a little bit more excited. I hear what you're saying, GreenBean. I do 1,000%. It seems that there's a defensive-minded coach seems to, made good, well-rounded hires on the defensive side of the ball, and then the offensive side of the ball seems to not have the same pizzazz. This is, reason number one why I wanted an offensive head coach.
Yep.
To change, to kind of break or change that.
Yep. Gunny, did I already ask you about this?
Yeah. I was not aware that he was a quarterback. I didn't see that when I was looking him up. I saw the running backs coach aspect.
Yeah, but it's still you look at it, just like you said, he had his track record, that's fine, right? I don't care. There could be a guy who's done quarterback coach for 10 years and you're still that guy sucks. Why do you want that guy? It just feels to me, and Dom just said it, with an offensive minded head coach, it's time for the Jets to prioritize the most important side of the ball and the most important position in all the fucking sports. And we just never do it. And this guy, like you said, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a position, right? Dom said it perfectly. That's not what I wanted. You see the Detroit Lions, what they do, they went and got Mark Brunell, a guy can fucking play quarterback, and he knows the quarterback position inside out. The Vikings, they go get Josh McCown, right? A guy, he's played quarterback, or a guy who's played quarterback and has been a successful quarterback coach is kind of what you want, right? What you're hoping for. Not a guy who was a running back, little bit.
He was a college running back.
Yeah,
and then he coached running backs
right
before moving over to the quarterback.
Yeah, and he's coached quarterback the last few years, but to no success. It's I don't know. It just, I don't know. It rubs me. I feel like, honestly, when we're talking about, hey, man, take Jackson Dart or grab Jalen Milroe or trade up for Cam Ward, I'm I fucking hope not. And then make, right? It's the Derek Carr thing.
Him? Yeah, that's concerning.
And then, what about the guys who want Justin Fields? Okay, look, I understand it. And he's an exciting guy and there's got to be upside, and he's still 25 and he won 4 games with the Steelers. And okay, he's kind of incrementally getting better. Some guys take time. Look at all the Jets fans are why'd we ever let Geno go? He only took 9 years to get good.
9 years to figure it out.
So some guys take a little while, maybe Justin Fields, but I'll tell you what's going to help is if you got a guy that you trust to mold him to go, hey, here's what's going on with your footwork. Here's what's going on with your throwing motion or your process, and be able to actually deconstruct that with him in a digestible way that is successful in the NFL. And once again, we just don't have it. Maybe he ends up being great. You said it really well, Gunny. There's a lot of guys you're well, maybe it could, because they're unknown. Maybe they're good. And I hate, as Jets fans, that's the shit we got to do. This was the year, in my opinion, especially if you fired your whole staff. We got these superstar kind of level guys. They're all disenchanted. Quinnen's pissed. Fucking Garrett Wilson's pissed. Everybody's mad. And DJ Reed can't wait to get out of here and all this kind of stuff. This was the year to kind of make a statement. Kind of what I brought it up last night with, the way Leon Hess, right? Now, Leon Hess was not a good owner, right? Let's be clear. But at the end of his days, okay, he went out and he did the bold, he quite literally stole Bill Parcells from the Patriots in such a way that he actually, when there was struggle getting Bill, he hired the rest of their staff away from Bill Belichick was actually listed as our head coach for a couple days there. He took Charlie Weiss and fucking Romeo Crennel and Carthon and all those guys. He hired away his whole coaching staff and then got Parcells. And then next year they stole Curtis Martin with the Tannenbaum poison pill. That's because he said, I don't give a shit. I'm getting the guy that I want. I don't care what I have to pay. I don't care about the first round draft pick I got. I don't care about any of it. This is what's going to change my franchise. And this was the year to do that, especially if you're moving on from Aaron Rodgers and this whole hype thing that we had. It was the year to make a statement. We go and get Aaron Glenn, whatever. He's a great Jet. We love him, all that kind of stuff. Then you had to go out and you had to make a statement with the coaching staff. You know, we got a rookie GM again, rookie head coach again, the whole thing. You had to get the offensive coaching staff intact. You're getting rid of your Hall of Fame quarterback, and we got a guy that's a fucking fat question mark in charge of that. So we're going to, we really love Shedeur Sanders. Yeah? You're going to trade up for Shedeur Sanders, and you don't have a quarterback coach that's an established guy worth a shit, Gunny? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you make perfect sense. You make perfect sense.
I'm upset. The only thing, I'll tell you what the saving grace is for me. The saving grace is that they brought Spielman in to help Muji. To me, that's the most underrated move that we did all offseason. Like, you know, all these kind of young whippersnappers running around that are going to be full of piss and vinegar, making crazy mistakes. At least Spielman's in the room and can go, wait, guys, just hear me out here. I remember when I thought like that, and here's what happened. You know what I mean? If even just that, old man stories of piss and vinegar, you know? Or when you're all timid and tentative. This is the time when you got to have a set of balls. Make the move, kid. You know it's the right move. You know, even if it's that side of it. That's the thing that makes me feel better. But, dude, I look at this coaching staff. Again, love Aaron Curry. I think that's the best defensive staff move. Getting a linebacker coach from the Steelers, a good move in my book. You know what I mean?
That's a win.
He gets a little bit of an upgrade instead of being I think he was inside linebackers, if I remember correctly. But now he's linebackers coach. So that's a great move. But it's like I look at the offense and I don't know, man. I'm nervous again. Like once again in 2 years, we're going to be fucking firing this guy and that guy. And Sean Jefferson's here. I guess that's good. I like him a lot, you know, but I don't know how good he is. You know, I don't know, Dom.
He had a good. So from what I do understand about Sean, I don't know how good of a coach he is. He's been a coach for 20 some odd years. So
yeah.
But what I do know is in the building, he's got a very good relationship with Garrett. So maybe they just thought that was very important.
Yeah. You see, when Garrett would be complaining about Aaron Rodgers missing him, he'd run right to Jefferson.
And then, and listen, if they didn't keep him on as wide receivers coach, maybe they would have made him the fucking assistant defensive line coach. You know,
I don't know, guys. What do you guys think in the chat? You know, I mean, you know, what are we doing here with this shit? I mean, are we tight? Like once again, it looks like we're really gearing up to have a pretty good defense, and I like it. Don't get me wrong, but fuck.
It's 2025. It's
right.
an offensive league.
Right, Gunny. And look, all we need, Gunny, on the defensive side of the ball is 2 safeties, a starting cornerback, a starting middle linebacker, and 2 defensive tackles to get started. That's it.
That's it? Oh, okay.
Which is where Dom
Easy day. Easy day.
You know, and it's funny. There's 2 names in the new coaching staff that I think have kind of flew under the radar. Gone is Eric Whitecotton, who was, a staple here, who I thought did a good job developing, whatnot. But bringing in Eric Washington is really, really interesting. He's experienced. He's a former defensive coordinator. He's worked with some really good defensive lines from back in Carolina, Arizona, I believe, Chicago. He was the defensive coordinator. Buffalo. So that one,
Bills is where I know. Right.
That one is really good. And then I think it's interesting. You talk about like big brain idea. Aaron Glenn, first time head coach, brought in a game management coach, someone to help him with those little things. Now I know nothing. I know the name John Berger, and I know that he worked for the NFL for many, many years. And he's going to be the game management coach. Interesting, I thought.
Yeah. And so Swamp Ranger says maybe they're targeting Milrow. They say he's a running back. There you go.
Yeah.
See, that's the plan, Dom. We're going to get a
Or
quarterback
Fields,
that's a
right?
running back.
That's it. Fields, baby.
Give them to the quarterback who's a running backs coach. The quarterback coach is a running back coach. Yeah. You know what? Swamp Ranger, I think you're onto something, buddy. I think we might have it. This is a plan. We're going to change it. Change the NFL. That's what we're doing. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough, right? So all right, let's look to the future a little bit. We're heading into the draft. And I'll start with Gunny because I know Dom's gonna fucking wipe the floor with us for a little while. We'll head into the draft a little bit, Gunny. What do you think the Jets should be targeting? What happens, but is another story. But what should we be targeting in, let's say, the first 2 rounds of the draft? Even if you want to stay with the first round, but what is, from your perspective, the Jets? What do we got to get done in the first round? Gunny. Can you? Am I muted?
You broke up. Say it again. Say
I broke up. Dom, did I break up for you too?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I was saying, Gunny. Shit happens, right? What do you see as the Jet? Like, what do you see as the Jets' priority? Like, what do they have to get done in the first round? What should they be targeting in the first round of this year's draft?
In all actuality, I think it goes back to our biggest concerns, right? The majority of us as a fan base wanted to go the offensive route in terms of the coaching staff this year. We were talking about making Josh McCown the head coach, for crying out loud, just because we knew it was going to be an offensive approach. Maybe it'd be a year too early, but if we hit on an offensive-minded guy. And I think I'm taking my same attitude towards the draft as well. I think you got to go the offensive route. For me, the more and more I'm looking at a lot of mock drafts, and maybe it's just me feeling myself a lot, I think Tet is the guy. I really believe we need to get a legitimate number 2 wide receiver on this team. And that's if we keep Davante Adams or if we don't, right? I think ultimately you're seeing right now in the league more and more the importance of having weapons. The Super Bowl winners have Devontae Smith and they have A.J. Brown. Right, you saw both of those guys make key plays during the Super Bowl to go ahead and beat out a Kansas City Chiefs team who didn't truly have a number 1 and number 2 option. It's obvious that Travis Kelce is over the hill. You saw that, and then you had Patrick Mahomes really nowhere to go with the ball other than Xavier Worthy. So I think that's the route. You got to go offense. I don't think going right tackle in the first round makes a lot of sense. Not that high, not at 7. I know there's some individuals who might feel differently about that, but get me a weapon in the building, the game-changing weapon, and I think Tet can do that, and it looks like in a lot of mock drafts he does find his way to pick number 7. I don't want to go defense. I don't, and I came into this season really liking Mason Graham and Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter is never dropping to number 7. It's not going to happen.
I agree.
Mason Graham it's possible, but the more and more I've talked to Dom and I've done some more research on it, it doesn't
Dom
really
will do
line
that
up.
to you, Gunny.
Yeah, he makes you think. He really makes you process and look at your decision.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Dom makes a lot of sense. So for me, I veered back to, okay, we went the defensive route for the head coach. Then we got to go to the offensive route with the first overall, our first round pick. We got to go ahead and stack that side of the ball to go ahead and balance out how the coaching staff looks. We feel really good about the coaching staff for the defense side of football. Not so much. It's an unknown for the offense. So for me, the more weapons you have, the more football players that play offense you have on this team, hopefully, the easier you make it on the offensive coaching to go ahead and get those guys the ball.
So Dom, all right, we're gonna go to you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're ultra processed. You got a very, very good head, very good kind of grasp of what's going on out there right now. Not necessarily using that, but like from the Jets' perspective.
Sure.
Looking at our team, where we are right now, what do you think they got to get done in the first round of the draft?
I want to show you something. If you'll let me share my screen,
by all
if
means.
you will.
By all means, buddy.
Let's do this here. Where is it? Here it is. Boom. Share screen. Oh, you got to bring it. Oh, here it is. Bring it up, GreenBean.
Yep, I got it.
There it is. The old Our Lads roster, right? This is our defense, guys. You see all these names in green and the ones in black?
We do.
They're gone. Those are free agents. So it's not only a couple starters, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces in depth. Right now, the only linebackers on the team here are, right here, Zaire Barnes, Marcelino McCray, and Jimmy Cirillo, who's on a futures deal. Right? You have Quincy.
Right, Quincy's it. Yeah.
Look at the defensive backs. You got.
Well, Dom, real quick, what's the difference between black and green?
Black is a restricted free agent. Green is unrestricted. So the Chaz Surratt and Tony Adams are restricted free agents. So the Jets could tender them, and they'll have to decide, the first round, second round, whatever kind of tender that they want to offer. The Jets have that right, and that'll give them X amount of dollars. So looking at this,
get that ad off of there.
What ad is it there?
Get that off of there, Dom. There
Sorry.
you go. No,
so looking at this, knowing that we have a defensive-minded head coach in here, and here's the offense, and there's still some holes. Sure, you got some depth pieces. A lot less green here. A lot more green here. The idea that we can't go defense, to me, doesn't make sense. I would stick and pick and I don't think you're going to be able to trade down, and who knows, and that's it. I'll stop sharing. I don't know if you're going to be able to trade down. There's a whole lot to do it. But to me, I think you got to match that value and that need perfectly. And for me, in this draft in particularly, it's on the defensive side of the ball. So I plug the best edge rusher. I know people would hate to see it, but if a guy like Will Johnson falls, the cornerback who was arguably the best, one of the two best defensive players in all college football last year, before he got hurt this year, I think if he's on the board, that I would lean towards the defense. I would.
Is he going to be able? Is his injury such that he can run around in the combine? Or is he played? He injured it in the spring game, and it wasn't like an ACL or anything like that. It was turf toe. Now I don't know if anyone here has had turf toe, and turf toe is just a matter of pain tolerance, right? So he pushed. He's
through.
A big puss. Oh, okay. Sorry, go on.
He pushed through the first 6 weeks of the season. And he was hindered by it, and it bothered him. And then he sat out for a week. And then I think it came to a point where people, his people probably got into his ear. Michigan was out of it. They stunk. And they said, listen, just get healthy so you can, you're moving on. You're going to be more than likely a top 10 pick in this draft. Your body of work is already on film. Just, kind of cash it in and get yourself healthy and get yourself ready. So for me, I'm looking to the defensive side of the ball. I would probably lean towards an edge rusher. You got to also remember that, the Wilkes and Glenn defense is going to look a lot different than what we've run in the past. There's going to be a lot more 3-4 principles at times. I'm not going to say it's going to be a straight 3-4 all the time. They're both very multiple. All right. So you need a couple things. You need edge rushers that are comfortable on their feet, that can play in space, that understand how to drop off. Now, Jermaine Johnson has done it. That's fine. Will McDonald hasn't done it, although I think he's athletic enough to do it, but it's still that. You still need more depth. To me, I would look, I think the best value and need is probably edge rusher. You're going to need some big two-gap and fatties in the middle. And there's a bunch of them in this class. Who's
your fatty one? That's another category, by the way. We don't talk about it much, but fatties. You got to have your top 5 fatties.
So GreenBean, and this is not my defensive line order, but my first true one tech is my third defensive lineman on the board, Kenneth Grant from Michigan. And man, he is good. Yep. Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. He's another guy. He's 6 on the board. The Alfred Collins is a guy I know you probably haven't watched yet, but you will love him. But
Alfred Collins?
As you get Alfred Collins from Texas, yes. But as you get down the board, you start to get guys like Collins is as good against the run as they come, but he's not going to offer you anything in the pass. Whereas Kenneth Grant he's comped to Dexter Lawrence. He's got that kind of upside where he can two gap, play the run like a beast, and still pressure the passer. There's a lot of people who think Kenneth Grant's a better prospect than Mason Graham.
I've read that. Actually,
Yeah.
I was looking at some stuff for Kenneth Grant, and I saw like people. It's not a small group either. Like there's a nice healthy batch of people that think he might be a better prospect
Now
than Graham.
The consensus, I mean, the big names. I'm talking the big guys, the Bruglers and the Connor Rodgers and all those guys. Like most of them have Mason Graham, higher than Grant, but as you dig a little bit and get guys who get in the weeds and so on and so forth, it's not uncommon to say, hey, listen, the better pro might be Kenneth Grant, and I don't necessarily believe that. Now, people call me a Mason Graham hater, and I'm not. I think he's the 11th player on my board overall. He's phenomenal. I just don't know in our old defensive scheme where he fit next to Q, because he's very similar to Q. He's not a guy that you line up next to Q. And people say, wow, you can line these guys up all up and down on the board. Sure, they're athletic enough to do it. Doesn't make them good at it, right?
Right.
And I think Mason Graham is going to be a very high floor player, very safe player. I don't know if he's ever going to have that upside of the Dexter Lawrences and the Chris Jones of the world, the Quentin Williams. I don't know if he's going to have that upside. That's just my opinion. But I do know that, especially with the new odd fronts that they will put into play, we don't have anybody that can take up space and keep those linemen off of the linebacker so that they can roam free and make plays. So I would lean towards, the good thing is the defensive line draft. If you need defensive linemen, this is the draft to go get them. Go get yourself two.
That's
Get yourself two. Get yourself a 3 tech. Get yourself a big fatty. Get 2 big fatties in there. The Jets need some depth. They only got 8 picks. So, yeah. So I would lean towards the defensive side of the ball. But I wouldn't be upset with Ted McMillan. I absolutely wouldn't. I think he's good. And I would get it. So yeah, that's where I stand. Is he Gunny? You gonna throw a shoe at me?
Yeah, he's killing something. What's Gunny doing?
Nah, my kid opened the back door and some big ass freaking fly or not wasp, but mosquito flew in.
Oh, that's the big one. Hey, no, you got to save him. You know what they do? They're not mosquitoes. Let me tell you what they are. Hold on.
Oh boy.
They're actually they're very good. Wait. Hold on. Let me see. There's a piece of package punch. Wait. I'm not gonna remember it. They might be mosquito hawks.
It's huge.
Long
ass legs.
They're not mosquitoes. They're actually really good to have around. I know I've been killing them for years. I was brokenhearted when I used to I would chase one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I was on a mission, I'd kill that big ass thing. But turns out they're not. I'll figure it out.
Guy says they're called the crane fly.
No, let me see.
Is that right?
What are those big bugs that look
like
mosquitoes? Hold on.
Besides
crane
gross.
flies, right?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Let me see. That might be it. They don't eat mosquitoes. Let me see what they're good for. During the summer, important recycling and decomposition. They eat leaves, plants, and small bits of organic material in the soil. They're like helpful to your yard and shit like that. And they're not and they don't bite. So you got to cup them. They're really soft and ginger. Got to cup them and bring them outside, Gunny.
Oh.
Save the mosquito hawks.
Well, I already killed that one, but
yeah,
the next one I see.
One down for the rest to live. That's
yeah. There it is.
Sodak checking in. Yeah. Sodak, he says, this one's for Dom. He says, Dom, might be a stretch, but have you looked at the draft prospect results on years analysts have claimed it was a bad prospect class, or good quarterback class? Like, have you taken a look at any of that? Like, kind of kept track of when they say it's a great quarterback class, or is it accurate?
I don't necessarily keep tabs or logs or hits or misses on them. I mean, but what year was what year was McDonald drafted? What was that? 22?
22.
GreenBean, go ahead and pull up. That was the last known bad quarterback class. Go ahead and pull up that class. Let's look. That was the Kenny Pickett year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it's looking like it was pretty accurate. Although the kid from Liberty looked real good in spot duty for the Packers this year. What's his name again? Willis?
Malik Willis.
Yeah,
however,
right. So let's take a look.
He was so good that they traded him for a 7th round pick.
Oh.
He lost his job to Will Levis, who is going to lose his job probably to, Cam Ward.
But I'm saying, so they traded him, but he looked good after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so the Titans traded him.
Yeah.
They got Will Levis, so they weren't, but look.
Yeah, he didn't like working with the quarterbacks coach who we got now. That's
Yeah, I want to show you guys something. I took a look at the Patriots coaching staff, dude. It's fucking crazy. They got what's his name? Well, hold on. Wait, let me do this.
You know who their wide receivers coach is?
Yeah, Todd Downing. So our offensive savior this year is just their wide receivers coach.
Never coached wide receivers in his life. Quick. How about that?
Let me just show you guys this real quick. It's painful. You want to talk about?
He's one to know as a head coach
of the errors here. So you got Mike Vrabel, of course, right? A lot of people, myself included, like him a whole bunch. Josh McDaniels, say what you want about him being a ridiculously deranged head coach. He's a successful offensive coordinator. Now, a lot of that's been with Brady, but he did a good job with Castle as well and all that shit. You got Doug Marrone.
Maybe next to Stoutland is going to be the best offensive line coach in the league right now.
Right.
Doug Marrone,
you know what I mean?
Is their offensive line coach. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Thomas Brown was just an offensive coordinator in Chicago and in Philly.
Who's that?
Thomas Brown. I don't know what position he is. Quarterbacks coach, right between McDaniels and Marrone there.
Right here, right.
Yeah.
So then you got Todd Downing as wide receivers coach. Okay. So all these guys get down here. Now some of these guys, I'm not Terrell Williams, I know, right?
He came from Detroit. He was on Glenn's staff.
Yep. So, I had an actual fly. Dude, it's snow everywhere, and a fly just flew in here. A fly. Look at this. Ben McAdoo as senior defensive assistant. So they got 4 head coaches on this fucking staff. 4 head coaches, guys who were good enough at their position to get called up and be a head coach. Now, like McAdoo for the Giants wasn't exactly what I would call successful, but it doesn't matter. He was good enough at his job as position coach or as a coordinator to get called up to be a head coach. Marrone, as you know, screwed the Bills over. Remember that? They made that contract at like year 2. He had a 1-day window if you wanted to leave, but he still got paid. Some weird shit like that. And he did it. He left. And he left the Bills and he got all the millions of dollars. And then he went down to Jacksonville and did that whole thing. But dude, that's the staff. You know what I mean? We're in trouble. All right. We'll go back to the other thing. We'll go back to the 2022 draft class so we can take a look at this for Sodak through Dom and Gunny's eyes here. Here we go. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. Hold on. Whoops. What happened? The hell just happened? Okay.
I think you went to the bottom.
Yeah, it was weird.
Whoa,
okay.
Whoa.
Hold on. I'm just getting up to the top here, buddy. There we go. All right. So this was
22.
A bad quarterback class. Remember when they took the Jaguars, huh? Look at this. The next 3 picks. Anywho.
Remember when you made fun of me for having Stingley graded higher than Sauce too?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, he's playing well. But so here we go. So we're looking at the quarterbacks. So this was a bad quarterback draft. So number 1, there was only one in the first round, right?
Correct. I believe Pittsburgh. Yeah,
there he is. Kenny Pickett. So what else are we looking here for, Dom? So we're
just trying to go through the first couple rounds and see the quarterback.
Oh, you just passed one.
You passed one. Yeah.
Where is it? Right there. Nope.
You're going way too fast.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's the first round. Let me get to the second round. Going too fast. I'm going too fast. I don't think that was a quarterback. I think.
Nope, you're right. It wasn't. It was a cornerback.
I got it. I think I'm the only one with eyes, and my eyes are falling out of my head, Gunny. I can't see shit. Okay.
Now
Look at this. We're in the third round. There
Right
it is.
there, Desmond Ridder.
That's our quarterback coach's project.
He's been
Guy we have now. That was his last project.
Yeah. And
He's
then
real good.
keep going.
He sucks.
Yeah, right there.
Right
Stop.
there.
Malik Willis. Bad.
God, that was bad. This was a horrible quarterback class.
Yeah.
Go through the fourth round. I don't think there's going to be anyone of.
Here's another one.
Right
Matt
there.
Corral, who I did
Matt
like.
Corral.
I actually like Matt
hasn't-
Corral.
He's out of the league. He's been out
He's
of
in
the
the
league
UFL.
already.
He's in the
Yep.
UFL.
There's one quarterback that made it from this draft.
Who is it?
Scroll all the way to the bottom, my friend.
Oh yeah, Brock Purdy.
That's right,
Yeah.
Brock Purdy.
So funny, dude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we'll find our Brock Purdy in this.
Yeah.
draft.
Right here. There's one. Bailey Zappi.
Oh, Bailey Zappi.
He's had some fun in New England.
Oh, wow.
So there's another one. Sam
Sam
Howell.
Howell. Okay,
Sam Howell. Actually,
he did all right.
he did
He's
okay.
got some.
Yeah.
He's got I think he's quality, but still, I think that to Sodak's question here.
Just,
I mean,
fresh years. That's the last bad quarterback draft that came out. Whereas opposed to last year, they said was one of the best quarterback years, of recent memory. And the interesting thing is, guys, what they said about the quarterback draft last year, they're saying this year about the defensive linemen and the tight ends. Yeah. Arguably, maybe the best year, and running backs as well. This might be the deepest tight end group that has come out in about 20 years. Position we need. I'm saying plug 2 tight ends, plug 2 defensive linemen while the pickings are hot and while the pickings are good. Figure out the rest of it.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people don't like. Look, I'm all about the offensive line, right? But a lot of people are still married to the idea of drafting. We need that right tackle, right? And I'm with it. But it's not the year to do it. You can't just take. I mean, you can and you can hit, right? But you want to utilize the strength of the draft in your favor.
Yes.
Right? You want to play that game. And just like Dom said, it happens to be needs.
Yeah.
We got needs, and this draft has them. So yes, you'd love to get, the wide receiver and the this and the right tackle, but it's not that year. So fill the other holes. Don't force square pegs into round holes.
Correct.
All right, John checking in. So speaking of offensive line, McMillan or Will Campbell if they stay at 7. Target tight end in the 3rd to 4th round. Now I like the 3rd, 4th round for the tight end. Where are you on Will Campbell? Because if Tet's there, that's my guy for this draft so far. I think if Tet's at 7,
I'm gonna say this, okay? Before I get into Will Campbell, if the Jets stick at 7, I don't think that there's one offensive lineman that is worthy of the 7th overall pick.
Yeah.
I don't, and especially not Will Campbell. I know he's got a lot of hoopla. Will Campbell's, if you're asking me my opinion, GreenBean, there's 99% certainty in my eyes that he's going to be moved into guard. That's where he belongs. I think that's where he'll, probably be a better pro at. And in there lies the problem with this offensive line class, is that you can go down the board, the first 10 offensive tackles that you find on any draft board, there's a 50-50 shot that they're going to stay at tackle. They might bounce into guard. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Whoever you talk to, Will Campbell for sure, I think is going to be a guard. Wyatt Milam out of West Virginia, another really good tackle in college. He's going to be a guard. We just saw Gray Zabel, the darling of of Mobile from North Dakota State, was their left tackle for 3 years. He's going to play center. Marcus Embo from Purdue, going to play interior. Ariante Ursary from Minnesota, maybe can stay outside. Depending on the scheme, possibly move into guard. Jonah Salvanea from Arizona, going to move inside the guard. These are all tackles that are going to move outside. There's not many pure tackles. There's a couple of them. So I stay away completely from the soft spot for offensive linemen in this class is rounds, middle round 2 to about middle round 4. That's where I'm plucking a guy off if I want to, get a guy and develop. I am not, like you said, taking a square peg and trying to fill a need because it's a need right now. That's just it's a recipe for disaster with this offensive line class. If I needed a guard, be a different story. And if you tell me AVT is your right tackle, needed a guard, okay, then then maybe you want to talk about some of these guys at 7, even though I think it's a little high to take a guard. Fine, but not at a tackle. Not a tackle this year.
Yeah. So, but Gunny, you're a Tet guy, right? Isn't that like kind of your? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's my guy.
You think now? Look, there's some teams before us that might like. You think he's going to be there at 7 realistically?
I see a 75% chance that he's there at number 7. And if that's the case, I think the Jets should run up to the podium and grab that guy. I love him, man. Again, this is a guy who's 6'4", 215 pounds, ran a 4.5 40, but he plays much faster than that. When you watch the tape, the dude plays much faster, clean route runner, and he catches everything thrown in his direction. Like, I just don't see a downside here to put him on the other side of Garrett Wilson. And again, I do think we need to get that offensive tackle spot on the right side taken care of, but not at 7. I think that's way too high as well. I know Will Campbell right now, a lot of people love the fact that he's versatile and they believe that he can go ahead and play offensive tackle and guard. But I think I stand with Dom on this one. He's been pretty good at being able to isolate and identify the technique aspect of what will make them good at the next level. And I think Will Campbell probably slots out better as a guard than he would as a right tackle. So for me, give me the big-bodied, big hands, clean route runner, wide receiver that's going to go ahead and complement Garrett Wilson. Again, I'm just big on the fact that we have the defensive-minded, head coach. We like our defensive coordinator. I want to give as much help as possible to the offense. If you tell me the rest of the draft has to be defense, fine. But you add a weapon like I think a Tet to this roster, and you add to that young core of wide receivers because after Garrett Wilson, and again, this is with Davante or not, right? But after Garrett Wilson, the long-term plan in that wide receiver room is very questionable at best. So yeah, I love Tet. I love the tape. I've been watching highlights after I watched the all 22 tape. I like the kid, like him a lot.
Yeah, he's good. There's no denying. I think Gunny hit it on the head. Like, the hands are good. The catch radius is ridiculous. He can go up and get the ball. A guy that big with yak skills like he has is special. There's some questions on listen. He doesn't have long. He's not going to be he's not going to be like Xavier Worthy, running down the field. He doesn't have long speed like that. More of a smooth guy, but gets over his toes and really, runs the routes he was asked to in college. There's questions on if he's going to be able to, really effectively get off press man at the pros, and that'll be determined. But yeah, I think his body type and his skill set would complement Garrett very well.
Yeah, I like him a whole bunch, man. So all right, well, John, I hope that's not you in that profile pic of yours, buddy. And if it is, I gotta just say respect for putting it up there.
Gutsy. That's
respect.
Gutsy.
Respect to John, everybody. Wyatt checking in. He's got a pretty sound logic here. This is my boy Wyatt, the Marine from Wyoming. The poor fella got sucked into this abyss with us. We should draft the most attractive, active person. Dom, is that part of your evaluation process? Looks?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I get the interviews with these guys, and I'd be like, "Ooh, he's kind of fugly. I'm going to pass on that one." Where's, what's the guy? Who was the quarterback last year from Notre Dame?
Oh, yeah.
Cody March is a different, but who's the quarterback? Sam Hartman. He was beautiful. Beautiful young feller. Yeah,
that boy was pretty.
Pretty young feller, that guy.
Yeah, Wyatt wants Cody March. Like, that's what he means by good looks. Let me just see. This is the guy right here. This is why it's when Wyatt says good looking, this is what he's talking about. That's our boy.
Oh, look at that guy.
Look at that smile. Just look at that smile.
I love him. All right. Thank you, Wyatt. You're the man. Bearded's it's a Dom. Any thoughts on Jamari Caldwell?
Jamari, I love
Jamari.
I love Jamari Caldwell, man. I got man, I don't know if I have them on.
Take it. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So you talk about those big fatties in the middle, and that could be had later on. You talk about the depth in this class. Jamari Caldwell is just that 6'3.5", 340 pounds, but the guy moves like a gazelle for someone that big, kind of some short arms. I know that's going to be an issue, but the way that he can, disengage using his raw, just brute power from the ground up. His hands, although his arms are short, his hands are like bricks. Does a real good job against the run. Fits that need of that two gapping style, no one tech, zero tech that you want. And can really, get at it too, get at the passer. For a guy 340 pounds, he moves very well. So I happen to like Jamari Caldwell a lot. He's got an early 4th round grade for me, just because he's going to have some physical limitations that, like I said, the short arms aren't going to be the short arms aren't wonderful. He's a little bit, a little bit too compact at times, plays a little bit too compact at times. Some people might see him as only a 2-down player. I disagree with that. I think he's going to be one of those guys who, if he slips to the 3rd, 4th round and a team jumps on him, he's a guy that's going to come in and wreak havoc right off the get-go. I have a list, and this is an honest truth. Gunny, you'll appreciate this. I've been cutting out film of guys, that for GreenBean, and I got a fatty folder. And Jamari Caldwell,
fatty folder.
Jamari Caldwell is the first one in that folder. Just different, different cuts and from different games and whatnot for him.
Your fatty folder.
Yeah, the fatty folder. Which, by the way, Dom, did you get my request to access it? I couldn't access the folder. I sent you a request.
No, I will. I will.
But that's probably because I'm having difficulty. I can't get back into Talking Jets for some. I told you I'm having issues. But I can't get back in. Like I couldn't get back into the BetUS thing, which, by the way, let me take a second and remind everybody about, did I close that down? Let me see here. I did. Let me hold on. I got to find my fucking thing. There it is. So guys, as you know by now, you've heard me say it once. You've heard me say it twice. I'm going to say it a third time. The greatest offer you can find out there right now is the one and only BetUS, America's favorite sports book. For a reason, but they have an offer for you, all GreenBean viewers. All you got to do is go on BetUS and use the promo code YouTube150, and you will be granted a 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000, everybody. But they will also give you a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. There is no better place to be if you want to place wagers on sports, on politics, and everything else. BetUS is your place to do it all. Thanks to BetUS for hanging out with us on the Thursday thick of it.
And with that, GreenBean, I gotta jump off, brother. The wife and the daughter made dinner. Yeah, mosquitoes? I'm gonna go eat dinner with the family. They made some dinner for me. I've been gone the last couple of days, and I'm getting eyes. So,
hey, Gunny,
I appreciate.
We love you.
What's good?
You enjoy your time with your family.
Say hello to everybody for me, Gunny.
Will do, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys. Nothing but love for you guys. Everybody in the comments watching us, love you guys as well. We'll see you guys next week. Well, I'll see you guys next week because you're going to be here.
Right on. All right, Gunny. Enjoy, buddy.
Later, man.
Have a good night.
There he goes. A little pre-Valentine's Day love for the Gunster with the family. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Yeah. Look at this one. So Swamp Cashmere Black first. Would you give up the 7th overall pick for Kyler Murray, Dom? What do you think of that idea?
Oh man, this is something I don't know where this came from. But I have been here. I've heard this a couple times. Listen, would I give up the 7th overall pick for Kyler Murray? Yes, I would. I just can't wrap my head around why Arizona would want to get rid of him, at least for one pick like that. I just think that that's shooting a little low. But yeah, like I'd give up the pick. I want to look at his contract while we're talking about it, because this isn't the first time I've heard this. I don't know if somebody kind of just started so he's 28 years old. At 20, he's got a $43 million cap hit next year. So that'd probably have to be renegotiated. And then it goes 26, he's 53, and 27, he's 43, and then 28, he's 46. All of those majority of base salaries, which would be just our responsibility. We're not responsible for any of the other signing bonus or anything like that. So those numbers would go down a little bit. Yeah, I would trade the 7 for Kyler Murray.
Never hit 4,000 yards, was on an absolutely stacked offensive roster they built for him. Couldn't get anything done. And he had this written into his contract, Dom. Must study this at least this many hours a week. It was written into his contract. Does that concern you? Any of those things I said?
Well, I mean, not the first. Yeah, I mean, listen, you can make a fair argument with the last one, but let me ask you this. That aside, the whole contract thing that is, allegedly in his contract, does Kyler Murray make the Jets a better team now and down the road? I'd venture yes. I don't think there's a quarterback that you're going to bring in and listen, I don't know. Kyler Murray's not on that elite level, the Burrows and the Allens and the Mahomes, but he's probably, in a tier or two right below them with, maybe the Herberts of the world and the Goffs of the world, that the Trevor Lawrence of the world, that third tier quarterback, the Dax of the world. I'd probably put Kyler Murray in that realm. And for the 7th pick, you can have it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm going to put that in the poll. I'm real curious. That's an interesting question, Cashman.
But I've heard that before. I don't know if Little Connor was the one who kind of brought that to life. I don't know if the aggregators were making mention. But I just don't understand why Arizona would want to get rid of him. It's not like they have another quarterback on the roster.
Well, they want to start fresh. They want to get out of the contract. They really like Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart, or who knows.
I like what Bearded Vermonter or VTer says here. Kyler won't be able to see over Joe Tippmann. That's fact. That's probably true.
Yeah, in fairness, there's very few offensive linemen he can see over. What is he? He's 5'11", I think, right?
Yes, he is.
Let me get to, I'll get right back to you, Swamp Ranger. Our buddy Ablab checking in. What's up, bud? Good to see you. He says, gang, if we pick at 7, there's either going to be two Warren or Tet in terms of offensive weapons there. So if one of the two are gone at 7, do we take the other in terms of value at 7? So I think the one more likely to be gone, Dom, would be Tet. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree.
So are you okay with the pivot? Like, we're good going into the draft. I want one of these two guys. I'm guaranteed to get one. I'm good with either one. Are you good with that pivot to Tyler Warren, the tight end?
Yeah. So let me say this. Yes, I'd be fine with it. I don't know if it'd be the pick I would make, but I would be fine with it. And I'm gonna, I'll say this about this draft. It is not very top heavy. You talked about it. It's been talked about ad infinitum. It's a little bit of a weaker class total, top to bottom. There are some very deep groups and some good groups, but the top heaviness of this class is not there this year. There's going to be a lot of teams that only have a handful, like 6, 7, 8 first-round grades. Maybe even less some. So I think the teams that, have the maybe a half dozen first-round grades, if their guy's gone, you're going to see a lot of guys go in the first round who aren't being talked about as first-rounders because people are going to just go get their guy. This first round is, barring a bunch of trades, which I guess it could happen at any draft, there's going to be a bunch of guys that go earlier than we're expecting or we're talking about now in February and March and early April where they're going to go. So the idea of a tight end at 7 isn't my favorite thing. But, listen, if he's their guy and he's the best guy on their board and they happen to have a first grade on him and they took him, I'm not going to be upset. There's very little I'd be upset about in the first round outside of, probably an offensive lineman at 7.
I was going to say, what would make you upset? So offensive line, because you're just not seeing it.
Yeah, I'm really not seeing it there. I don't know if if a quarterback that's not named Ward or Sanders would probably make me upset too. But outside of that, like I could wrap my head and get with just about any other position. Like I said, I think there's a cornerback that's worthy of it. There's tons of defensive linemen, both at edge and interior, that are worthy of it. The tight end, if Warren's your guy, if McMillan is your guy, or even one of the other receivers, which I don't think they'll go that high, I'd be for it. You know what? Here's an interesting one. Bean, I'll pitch it to you. Top 4 guy in my class. He's really good. Ashton Genty, running back.
I don't want it.
Yeah, and
I know.
I don't think the Jets. I don't think the Jets are going to go that way. But that's one. If he's on the board, if he's a first rounder, he's a they have him as a blue chipper, and you're just whatever. I don't see the point in taking a running back that high ever, let alone when you already have a pretty solid stable, unless you plan on, what do you do with Brees? Do you trade him? Do you run the brakes off of him in year 4 and figure it out after that?
That's the ticket right there. You make it look. Brees Hall, we've seen the potential, guys. The guy's almost never. I mean, he's just about never given 20 plus carries. Never. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just the craziest thing. I mean, we were second in the league in pass attempts last year. And, like the year before, it's like we're splitting time with Dalvin Cook and Michael Carter. Like he's always kind of, it's weird. His tenure here has been weird. He had 1,600 all-purpose yards in 2023. He had 1,200 all-purpose yards last year. And these are, I don't know, man. I think just like you said, you take Brees. He was the consensus best running back in the draft that year. We got him high in the second round. You fucking run the wheels off him. If you're planning on, there's this people, there's a school of thought that says, well, if you're not going to re-sign him, then get what you can. We'll get what you can. How about get what you can on the field? You know what I mean? How about that? It's not, you think trading, what are you going to get for him? A 5th, Tom?
For Brees?
I mean, realistically, in this trade, this year, you're selling low. You know what I mean? You're selling low. It's a deep draft class. And then not for nothing, you're creating a need on a team with 8 needs.
Yeah, no, listen, I honest to God, I don't think you're probably getting more than a 4th round pick for Brees Hall coming into his last year. Like you said, an extremely deep draft class. You're selling low. You probably get a 4th. Maybe you can get a late 3rd. I don't think you're getting much more than that. And I know in Jets fans' eyes, they they would never. They think that's, a lot of people would be flabbergasted at such a low return. But that's the reality of it. For me, if you're taking a 4th round pick for Brees Hall, no, I'm keeping him. I'm running the brakes off of him and seeing what happens. Maybe he is to Tanner Engstrom's office what the other kid over there in Detroit was. Why can't I think of his name?
I know. I just had it and it just flew right out of my head. Hold on. Oh, Jesus. The 1st round pick.
I can't think of his name.
Oh my God, dude.
Somebody in the chat.
Yeah.
Gibbs. Thank you. Jamar Gibbs. Thank you, Stud City.
Jeez.
Yeah. Maybe he's the Jamar Gibbs. Like, he's the guy that they use, to catch balls out of the backfield, play in space, get out there. I don't think he's the bruiser type. He doesn't do his best work inside of the tackle box. No,
run him out right. He really does his best work going around the tackles. He just does. But that's why you got Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. That's why you got them. You let them get the hard yards and you fucking use Brees in the passing game. Dude, get Brees in space. He has shown both the ability to make people miss and the ability to lay the wood at the end of the run. I mean, dude, the guy, I don't know. I love Brees Hall. I think we've misused him.
He's my favorite Jet. He's my favorite Jet. I'll say that wholeheartedly. Yeah. He's my favorite Jet. And I'm more than understanding or accepting of the fact that he's probably not going to be on this team much more longer. I don't think he's going to get a second contract. I think if things work out perfectly, there's that perfect storm that maybe they franchise him for a year because you're going to have a lot of cap money next year. But I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna get a. I don't think he's gonna get a second contract, and nor do I think that you should pay him at at 13, 15, 16 million dollars a year. I don't, and he's my favorite Jet.
All right, so going back to Ablab's question here. I'm going to tell you this. So number one at 7, I'm all about Tet McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, I'm not the biggest Tyler Warren. I like Tyler Warren plenty, but I don't like him enough to take him at 7. I got to tell you, I don't. There are more tight ends that I feel like could give you similar production later, 3rd round, 4th round. Here's the thing. I would pivot though. Me personally. I want them to re-sign Sherwood. I do. But that still doesn't preclude me from taking another linebacker, especially if we're looking at predominantly 4-3 or whatever. I'm pivoting to linebacker or safety. I'm taking my top linebacker or safety off the board. Dude, we have nothing but needs on defense. Yeah. So our huge thing was we couldn't stop the run last year, right? It's been an issue for 4 years, but last year it was just painfully glaring, right? For most of the season, especially in the Arizona game, speaking of Kyler Murray. So you go and you grab, because look, Dom, is Campbell your first linebacker, or do you have
Campbell's my first linebacker.
Yeah,
Campbell's my 7th player in the class. I'm way higher on him than the consensus. But I think Jihad Campbell is as good of a defensive player that's coming out in this class. He's 20 years old too. He'll be 21 a week before the draft.
Yeah, so I'm all about Jihad Campbell, or I got to see where he falls, but I like, if I'm not doing it up there, I like Schlesinger. Yeah. I got to do a deeper dive on that fucking kid. He's the kind of kid that I don't know. I just Campbell and Schlesinger are right now my faves at the linebacker position. Now, but look, Malachi Starks is right now my safety that I want, a guy that can that you can send as heat, that can be fantastic run support, but also has a nose for the ball and can be that. I mean, would you trust him in single high?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I feel like I feel like that too. So, like, again, our safety, tight end, like, are those positions that you necessarily want to use the 7th overall pick on? Maybe not, but it's just not the year. So you fill a need with a premium player. You get the top player at that other position. So I'm a little softer on Tyler Warren because I like, and I'm just getting it all fleshed out.
Yeah.
But I like other tight ends just as much as I like him. So it's like, I'm pivoting. If it's Tet, I'm taking him, but I'm pivoting to safety or linebacker instead of tight end at 7, Ablab. That's kind of how I think about it.
And I will say this too, Ablab. I happen to hold, if I take anything positive from the Joe Douglas regime, Joe Douglas valued position. He was very, very big on positional value, right?
Yeah.
So, tight end and I'm not talking like he didn't like tight ends or didn't like safeties. Obviously the solid defense really didn't. The safety was way down the board of importance, but for premium picks, especially first rounders in the top 10, like you gotta really, really sell me that this guy is going to be special, and you look back and not to start the whole Bowers thing, but like Bowers was special. He absolutely was special. I understand why they didn't take him, this, that, and the other thing, but Tyler Warren's good. But in a deep tight end class, I think I'd rather have that 7. I think that number 7 pick can probably be better utilized anywhere. Now, if there was a way and you were offered a means to trade back a little bit, and you fell into the middle of the first round, and then Tyler Warren's your guy there, I'm a lot more comfortable with him at like 15, 16 or something like that than I would be at 7. But I digress. Like, he's a good player, and Bean, I'll put it to you like this way: Trey McBride. You love Trey McBride, right?
Love him.
Tyler Warren's a comp. That's his NFL comp in my eyes, is Trey McBride. Now, we got to remember, Trey McBride didn't come out, blazing guns right from the get-go. It took him a year or two to kind of develop and find his niche. And the same thing could happen to Tyler Warren. But he's got that upside of Trey McBride. I think he can do a little bit of everything. Good blocker, not great. Very good with the ball in his hands. Not many tight ends have like yak ability like he can. You can put him all over the formation. Just a football player.
Yeah, but I like the LSU tight end.
Mason Taylor.
Yep, Mason Taylor. That's he's up there for me. Like, I'd rather wait till the third and grab Mason Taylor, maybe even the fourth, Dom, and get Malachi Starks or Jihad Campbell. I feel like the drop-off from one to the other is significantly less than my safeties and my linebackers. That's how I feel. You know who I was looking at linebacker with? Demetrius Knight? Is that his name? Demetrius Knight?
Yeah. Really, really. I mean, listen, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about Jalen Walker, the linebacker edge kind of hybrid guy from Georgia.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. The guy's phenomenal. Got to remember a new defensive scheme, right? And they're not like if this is Aaron Glenn's defense, he's not that. The linebacker core are not going to be those smaller, undersized, just strictly sideline to sideline guys like we've had in Sherwood and Quincy. They're just not going to be fit. They're going to look maybe one of them, but the other one's going to have to kind of be a little bit more robust, be able to fit the run better inside the phone booth, if you will. Again, especially with those 3-4 principles, you want somebody who's going. The linebackers, the inside linebackers in the 3-4 are really your run stoppers. They're the ones who stop the run. So You're going to want a bigger guy. Demetrius Knight fits that bill. He's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit stronger. The question with him, he's already 25. He's a 6-year college guy, 3 colleges, so on and so forth. But yeah, if you told me that he was going to be the selection on day 3, I'm all for it. Or like round 3, I'm all for it. Schlesinger, I love him as well. It's a little bit undersized. I think he's going to fit more of that solid scheme, middle linebacker, where he can drop off in Tampa 2 and run like the wind. But guys like Jihad Campbell can do it all.
Yeah, to Campbell. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not putting them necessarily in the same category. Where do you see Schlesinger going? I look at him as third.
Yeah, third
second,
or fourth.
Maybe.
Third or fourth, I think. I don't think you're going to see a lot of off-ball linebackers. Like, it's a really thin class. Outside of Campbell, who I think has a legit shot to go in round 1 or at least in the top, 45 picks. Outside of him and Walker, wherever you fit Walker, because Walker's different. Like, some people see him as just an edge rusher. Some people see him as an off-ball linebacker. Some people see him in that Micah Parsons role where he does a little bit of everything. He's going to be really scheme specific. He'll go off the board in the top 15 picks, I'm guessing for sure. But the team's going to have a role for him. Outside of that, like, if you don't see a linebacker off the board before round 3, I wouldn't be surprised.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting to me because I don't know. I think that the value of linebacker is going to, it's like, it hasn't been our priority in a long time. Like, like when years past, it was like, I remember the Marvin Jones draft. It was like, he was a 4th overall pick and we were psyched about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he was just a middle linebacker thumper type. I love Marvin Jones.
Well, and again, think about the positions that are undervalued these days, right? Off-ball linebackers, rarely you see them go in round 1. Running backs, the whole motto is you don't take a running back early, you can get them and wash, rinse, and repeat. I don't know how much say Aaron Glenn had in personnel, if he had any, if his voice was heard in Detroit. But look at what they did a couple years ago in Detroit. Yeah, they had two first-round picks, right?
Yep.
They took Jamar Gibbs at 12, and at 18 they took Jack Campbell.
Yep,
two positions that no one ever drafts in the first round.
And they're beautiful for him.
And Jack Campbell is that big type Mike linebacker that's in that Jihad Campbell mold. So,
So you don't think Jihad Campbell's going to go in the first?
I think I think he could. I don't think it's a lock. I mean, he just because of the positional, the positional value that people don't really take off ball linebackers that high. He could slip out of the first. He could go in the end of the first. I mean, there's plenty of teams.
Oh my God. I'd love to fucking get him in the second. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
If he was there in the second, you might, I don't know. I mean, I have to see what's going on, but it'd be real tough for me not to take him.
I told you, he's the 7th overall prospect for me. He's the 7th highest graded prospect I did out of all the guys that I've watched, scouted, and graded so far. He's number 7 on the board.
Hey, Ablab, remember Mo Lewis, Marvin Jones, and Brian Cox playing together? Remember that shit? I went to Jets camp in Hofstra that year. It's a ways away from where we lived in New Jersey, Dom and I. And I went out to Hofstra. Remember, I went with Frank Baden.
Yeah.
And a few other guys. But we went out there, and Parcells and Belichick were standing there with Marvin Jones, Mo Lewis, and Brian Cox. And Baden yells, "That's the best fucking linebacker core in the league, Parcells." And Parcells, no nonsense, just turns and goes, just like that. Like he knew exactly. He's like, "Fuck yeah, it is."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For the younger guys in the chat, I don't know if anyone ever watched or really understood how good Marvin Jones was. He was unfreaking believable. So was Vilma. They were different linebackers. Marvin Jones was a shit kicker. Vilma was good. Vilma was the first kind of guy that they talked about, that Mike backer that could scrape sideline to sideline, could come in.
Yes, because he had the speed.
Played with his ass, his hair and his ass on fire. But Marvin Jones was just different, man.
Yeah. Dave, I know those are I know we pivoted to linebacker from Ablab's question because I was talking about while I would be fine if they decide to take Tyler Warner. I'm not going to be upset about it, but I would prefer, if Tet's not there, I would prefer to pivot to another non-premium position and go with safety or linebacker because linebacker's likely going to be a need. I hope it's not, guys. I hope Sherwood stays. I really like Jamie and Sherwood. But I think it's going to be tough this year.
Are you paying Sherwood $12 million a year for 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying.
I think 12 is fine. Yeah. Maybe you try to scrape a little bit underneath that, but I think, I mean, dude, the cap's going to go up $25 million next year. Just keep your guy. That's but you can't say that about safeties. DJ Reed wants out. I mean, who knows? Maybe Aaron Glenn sits down with DJ Reed and just goes, "Dude, I want you here. Here's what we're doing. Speak cornerback to cornerback." I don't know. Maybe something happens, but DJ Reed sounded like he wants out,
And listen, I'll say this. DJ Reed's going to get paid if he does hit the free agent market, which is great. I don't expect the Jets to be shopping at the top of the free agent market.
No,
I don't. So the more guys that get these big contracts, the DJ Reeds, the Sherwoods, I think Eccles has a chance to get paid as get starter money or given an opportunity to get starter money somewhere. Remember, that's going to help us in 26. That's going to help the comp pick equation.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt. We're losing a bunch. The only thing is you got to look at that list and think which guys our team's going to prioritize to mess with their comp pick formula and hire in the sign in the window. And most of them aren't getting signed in the window. So
no, I don't know about that.
Like I think what?
DJ Reed.
Reed is one. Sherwood, right? Yep. Fair.
I think Eccles, because I think Eccles is going to get a chance to start somewhere. I think Hassan Reddick could sign within that window.
Nope.
Yeah,
never.
I don't know. We differ on that. I think he's gonna get an opportunity. It might be a prove it deal. Maybe it's $7, $8, $9 million for.
It's not going to be a priority though, dude. He was garbage. He played for half the season. He did nothing in a defense built for him to succeed. You know what I mean? He did nothing, and he was a jerk off and held out the stupidest holdout in NFL history next to Le'Veon Bell. So anyway, Swamp Ranger checking in. Dom, what do you think about Will Howard? We got to speed it up a little bit. I want to get to a couple more. And
sure, I'll be quick on Will Howard. I think he's an East Coast guy. He's a cold weather kid. He's from Pennsylvania. I think he's got a big, he's a big guy, 230 pounds, 6'5". Physically reminds me a lot of Ben Roethlisberger. He's got a really, really strong arm. He can make all the throws. In the second or third, I think he'll go in that second, third range. I would be very happy with plugging him in in the third round. Second round might be a little much because I think his ceiling is probably a little bit lower than say one of Jackson Dart. So I'd be fine with him. I think he's got a chance. Again, any of these guys, it's a 50-50 shot on any of these guys. Howard, McCord, Dart, you never know what you're going to get.
There you go. What else we got here? Wyatt checking back in says, trade back and get a great safety. Hey, I'll tell you what. If the Jets can figure out, again, if Tet is there, I'm taking him. Okay, that's my say on the matter. If he's not, I don't see the scenario where anyone's going to want to trade up for anybody.
Yeah.
Now, Shedeur Sanders slips past the Giants and nobody wants him and he's sitting there at 7. Maybe teams are, you know what I mean? Because that's further than you think he's going to get. Teams might be going, all right, he's close enough, I'm going. They might do that. But it's tough. That said, if there is an opportunity to slide back, I'm taking it. Dom and I were talking about it last week at some point. Maybe it was here. I see some scenarios, Jets sliding back to the 30, 31. I do it in this draft. Give me next year's first. Give me a fucking extra second this year. Give me pick 30, pick 43 or whatever, and then picks 50. I'm in with that.
Listen, depending on how the board falls, and I'm just going to make this up. Say the two quarterbacks, Carter, what's his face? Travis Hunter, and then Tet McMillan and Mason Graham are off the board. That's probably worst case scenario for the Jets. I'd be willing to trade back, even if I lose the point value, basis of the trade. If you can give me picks, not only for next year, obviously next year, but if you can give me more picks in the second and third round where the meat and potatoes, where the value of this draft really is, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Yeah. I just don't know, buddy. But if I could slide back 3 or 4 spots, gain a fourth, I mean, you would actually be like a third. If you trade back 3 spots, you're getting a third for it. So if you don't, you're silly boy. If you slide back, get an extra third, you're 3 picks back. I'm all over. I'm totally fine now. I got a fourth in Malachi Starks. I feel real good about doing something like that there. But let's see. Casimir Black checking in. Excuse me. He says, imagine Breece Hall on the Commanders with that offensive coordinator and Jaden Daniels, dude. Just everybody's shitting their pants with him tossing it on a dime 45 yards down the field. You know what I mean?
I will say this. I think Breece Hall is so talented. I really do. Like I said, he's my favorite Jet. I mean that wholeheartedly. He's my favorite Jet. Last year, maybe it was he's still coming back from that knee. I don't think that they utilized him properly.
I don't either.
Not at all. So.
Yeah. Ablab checking back in. Do we get comp picks this? No, we don't get any picks for hiring. Like that, the Rudy Rule stuff. It's the team where he came from.
Detroit will get 2 for Glenn.
2 for Glenn, not for Wilkes, because the only qualifier is GM or head coach. So it's the leadership positions. So we don't get them. Detroit, San Francisco got 2 when we hired Saleh. Arizona got 2 when we hired Bowles. And Detroit will get 2 for hiring Aaron Glenn. Now, if Steve Wilkes does, let's say he's got the number 1 defense in the NFL next year and somebody wants to give him a head coaching job, we would then get 2 third-round picks, one each year for 2 years. Yeah. That's actually the word I was looking for. I gave up quick. I was gonna go, what's the word? I was like, I just left it. I left it alone. So that's how that works. And the sad thing is we didn't get any comp picks this year either. We would have to check this out.
We didn't get one for Chad Alexander, no?
What's that? No, Chad Alexander went to be an assistant GM. So he was like what, the director?
He was the director.
Yeah, he didn't get to GM though. It's not just leveling up; it's getting to head coach. Because look, minority candidates are all over the mids. You know what I mean? They're that's not so much the question. It was they deserve viable opportunities to get into the leadership to run the team. So that's kind of what the motivator is there. But yeah, so Chad Alexander, who I liked a lot, he was my favorite Joe Douglas staffer, not Rex Hogan, not fucking Nemja and all those other guys. I like Chad Alexander, but I forget where he went, but I think he's an assistant GM now, which Joe Douglas, when he fired Rex Hogan, should have just made him his assistant GM.
Yeah. He interviewed today for the Jacksonville GM job.
Who did? Joe Douglas?
Chad Alexander.
Yeah. I mean, we're just, we don't do anything right.
And then if he gets the job, LA will get two picks.
Yep. I hope he gets it. I like Chad Alexander. He's another one, fucking born and bred in the Ravens, man. Like that's where you want. Like, you look, pedigree, man. Pedigree.
Yeah.
So, anywho, with that all said, thank you, Ablab. I didn't see your comment. I know you remember Marvin Jones and Mo Lewis and Brian Cox, though. I know you. I didn't see your comment, but or if you replied. But anywho, I gotta say, guys, I'm a little nervous about this year, but I'm excited about the draft. I hope Aaron Glenn's discipline and accountability and just kind of football, bringing football back to the game of football, which is built on discipline. That is the core of a successful football team. And I think that can pay dividends in leaps and bounds. So that's what I'm most excited about. I want to remind you guys about the offer from BetUS. Don't forget, guys, it's as easy as going on BetUS. YouTube 150 is the code. 150% deposit is the offer. Bonus on your first deposit of $2,000. That offer is. Don't forget about that, guys. Dom, what do you got coming up, buddy? I know you're busy. You got stockpiles of content waiting to explode onto the scene.
Yeah,
what's going on in your world?
I'm being torn in 10 different ways in terms of draft content. I'm writing for a publication, and once that's done, I'll get all you guys in there the link so you can see it. And if you want to read up, I'll be breaking down the tight ends for a draft publication that's coming out first week of April. Monday nights on the Talking Jets network, the New York Jets draft show. Ryan and I are going to start breaking down the positional groups, talking about the prospects a lot more in depth. And, still got some stuff coming out slowly but surely on my channel that's kind of taken a backseat, unfortunately, but a lot more content coming there as well.
There you go. And speaking of which, Dom and I will be starting the Monday night 10 o'clock mock this coming Monday, which will be immediately following Dom and Ryan on the Talking Jets network. We're going to be doing our themes, as you guys know, but they're going to be the two shows are going to be connected by the theme. So Dom and Ryan will take a shot at the theme. If we're going for a quarterback, we're going to try to trade up, or we're going to try to fix the defense. Whatever the theme is, you guys will vote on the theme. And then, as you know, in the Monday night 10 o'clock mock, you guys make the picks. It's one of the most fun things that we do all year. Yeah, I've gotten so many, Dom, I can't tell you how many people have asked, like, when are you starting the 10 o'clock mock? Well, this coming Monday is the official start date. And again, I'm really excited. This is the first year that we'll be kind of connecting the two shows by the theme. So I'm real excited to see how that fleshes out.
And guys, if you haven't watched, or if you're not familiar with the 10 o'clock mock, I'm not saying this because it's GreenBean and it's me and so on and so forth. It really is one of my favorite shows ever. Even when I wasn't involved with it, it's so much fun. we get to talk, we get to do the mocks, which everyone loves to do. You guys control it in the chat, and then we get to hear how bad
every time
turns out. Every week, we get to hear how bad it turns out.
It's really funny. Like, you guys make all the picks, and at the end, where everybody's, this fucking draft sucks. It's great. But again, the whole philosophy behind it, guys, is we explore different scenarios. We force ourselves to look at different ways to attack the draft. Because, you know, when you're doing it on your sim at home, you're likely to just keep picking the same guys over and over and over. And you accept every trade. And I got 4 firsts for next year in 3 seconds, and I got 30 picks.
I know I can get Cam Ward in round 5 on this simulator, so I'm going to keep taking them. No, it's
right.
We have some fun. It's an exercise. Mock drafts, guys, are nothing but make believe. That's all they are.
That's right.
So why not explore what something could look like and be like, huh, that makes sense. And the beautiful thing about it is that when we, you know, because we get into the weeds about some of these prospects talking about it, but the beautiful thing is that when we find a guy that we like and we talk about week after week, and then the Jets draft him, just like last year, Braylon Allen, GreenBean. You loved Braylon Allen. How many times did we talk about Braylon Allen on the 10 o'clock mock?
Oh yeah, loved him. Yeah, that's why when they actually picked him, I mean, we couldn't believe it. We're like, like our guy. It's real hard to nail down a late round pick that your team actually takes. You know what I mean? The one guy. It's hard to do. And you know, look, he was my RB1 for the Jets, and then RB3 was Isaiah Davis, and we got him too. Now I don't know if I would have taken both running backs, but I happen to love both players. So anyway, that starts Monday. Guys, I want to make a comment too. The chat tonight was exceptionally robust. I want to commend you guys. Like, it was fun in there tonight. I wish I could have brought more comments up. We had a lot of talking, some super chats and everything. So thank you to everybody who contributed, not only to the super chats and all that, but just in the chat itself. It's like a whole other show going on over there. You guys are the best, man. It's enjoyable to watch. I do that on the Talking Jets panel too. I'm like in charge of the chat. You know, so I'm like, you guys are great, but tonight was particularly robust, and I thank you guys for your awesome involvement. With that all said, we're going to get on out of here, and we will see you. We'll see you Monday, Dom. Oh, it's so exciting. Have a good night, everybody. Like I said, we'll see you Monday.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, man.
I want to kiss you. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there. You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.